Hey, welcome to Resolve to Live Forward. This is John Morrow. Thanks for joining me. It's Friday, and we're going into the Memorial Day holiday weekend, and I hope you're going to enjoy a good one. I hope you're safe. I hope you make the most of it. It's considered to be officially the end of what we call the academic year and the beginning of summer, and there's a lot of things taking place in summer. I'm just glad that you decided to join me. I want to, first of all, just express my appreciation. I've been doing this podcast trying to be as consistent as possible. And I've been thankful for the fact that over the last year and a half or so, I've been able to have this podcast on a weekly basis for you. And I'm glad you're watching and listening. And the reason why I say watching is because the podcast does stream on YouTube, but it also streams on numerous podcast platforms as an audio presentation. And I know that there are some changes coming down the pike where, since I do record this as an audio and a video, I will begin to hopefully have the opportunity through my hosting platform to let you meet me in person for those of you that have not seen me or have not looked me up online. But I want to say this. I received a correspondence from my hosting platform, which is Buzzsprout. And I always want to give Buzzsprout, that's Buzz, B-U-Z-Z, sprout, like a cauliflower sprout or like an alfalfa sprout. But Buzzsprout is a hosting platform. And as a hosting platform, they actually take my finished product and then push it out on multiple platforms, including Spotify and the Apple Store. I received notification from Buzzsprout that I've now had in the over 2.5 years that I've been doing this podcast, 1,000 downloads. Now, somebody would said, whoopee, big deal. There are content creators out there that are reaching thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people. Here's an honest statement. Number one, no podcast actually impacts unless there is a name that is recognized immediately and people already have a following, like a superstar or a film star, a music star, an individual like that. There also is a truth here. If you don't consistently go there every week, people are not going to remember you, and therefore they're not going to tell others about you. And then here's something even more important. What I talk about in Resolve to Live Forward doesn't fit into a specific type of broad audience. The audience that I'm looking to connect with are people who have experienced what I have experienced. And in having experienced that, I then in turn share with you, that audience, some incredible things that have happened in my life and things that I have learned and things that I have sought to understand and I have powered through. And I share them with you because you may be at a place where you are struggling, trying to find your way forward, trying to find meaningfulness in life because of a devastating, life altering, shattering event. Grief is not just about death, as I have said repeatedly, and I'll continue to say repeatedly. The lesson that I've learned about grief is this: we have grief experiences throughout the course of our lives. If we spend enough time thinking about it, and I'm not recommending that you do, but it's interesting as I talk about the experience of grief, and then I talk about the people that I have met who have experienced grief. One of the things that I have discovered is that grief is not the property of death, the death of a person or a thing. Sometimes that death, if you want to call it that, but that grief experience arises out of a traumatic event in one's life. And those events leave you permanently damaged. The people that listen to this podcast, the people that watch it on YouTube, these are the people who have walked in those shoes. And for them, they have the experience, but they also know that they have had the struggle and the failure and sometimes the loss of hope. Hard to believe, but in this particular series, which actually began over 7 weeks ago and is probably a series that I will be working on consistently for at least a period of 6 months, this journey having begun back in April. This series that I'm going through is understanding how to move forward successfully, but also what type of structure or tool or tools can help you. As far as contacting me, remember the podcast is Resolve to Live Forward. It's available on multiple podcasting platforms. I also have it on my YouTube channel, which is John Morrow Coaching. And I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. Most importantly of all, I have a website. I don't touch it hardly ever, but it is there. It's Resolve to Live Forward. That's the website. And my Gmail is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. You can also look me up under johnmorrow.com or johnmorrowcoaching.com. Thank you for letting me at least update. And again, thanks to all of you who took the time and cared enough to download my episodes and for the milestone opportunity that I have. I'm now into the 8th installment of this journey as we move across it weekly. Today's episode is entitled The Lie of Moving On. Repeat, The Lie of Moving On. Now you notice I didn't say moving forward or living forward. I said moving on. So let's talk about that. This is an important moment in the episode, and I have a question here that I wrote, and I want to share it with you. One of the phrases that I have often heard since the loss of my wife, the death of my wife, is you need to move on. It's time to move on. It's time to get on with living. Well, yeah, get on with living, but moving on? I don't like the way that sounds. And I resist it very, very much. Somebody telling me you need to move on may have perfectly good intentions, but I have to ask the question in my mind, and I don't know but what maybe if they're being a bit, how do you say, harsh, they're sort of saying to me, hey, man up. I almost want to ask them, I said, do you truly understand what it is that you're saying in light of how I feel? And have you felt the way I felt? Have you really experienced this kind of loss? Because I don't think you have. I don't think you truly understand just how devastating this is. So let's talk about that. When you've deeply loved somebody, you already know that these words just seem to naturally feel wrong because many people, to them, moving on sounds like getting over it, forgetting it. It's done. It's no longer a factor in your life. So here's my challenge today. I want to challenge the idea completely. I mean, I want to challenge it completely. I think it's a repugnant thing to say. I'm not saying that people saying it are being repugnant. What I'm saying is that I don't think they fully understand the gravity of remarks like that. I don't care for it. It just doesn't speak to who I am, where I am, what I am, and what place in life I'm currently at. Because after losing my wife, I struggled with the idea of moving forward because part of me felt like it meant leaving her behind. I didn't want to forget her. Not that I could. Let's make a point here. But think about this for just a second. There's this emotional resistance when you talk about moving on and getting past it. There's a guilt that people want to make you feel like you have around the idea of trying to heal. There's even a feeling of disloyalty for trying to smile again and live your life and to actually express joy. And here's something that we all, I think, experience if we have lost something precious. We fear letting go of it. This is where death is especially painful, very deep, leaves a scar, an ugly, ugly scar. And there is this strange tension that comes with the experience of grieving. It truly is. You want relief from the pain that you're feeling in the grieving process, but you don't want to lose the connection with the reason why you have the pain to begin with. Last week, I was talking about that familiar phrase, it is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. I then further said, grief, sorrow, heartbreak, and anguish are the price that you pay when you love something unconditionally and lose it. And you don't lose it necessarily because of anything you did wrong. It's taken from you because that's just the way life is. Things are taken from us all the time. There was a time for a while there where I was confused and I was thinking of healing as a separation process. I was separating myself from the thing that mattered to me more than anything, and that was Donna Morrow, my wife of almost 46 years, and the woman who I was devastatingly and awesomely and incredibly in love with for over 46 years. The woman that stuck there with me no matter what. She saw me through in my bad times as well as my good times. And most of all, she is the mother of an incredible son whose name is Donald, who will be 46 this year, by the way. And Donald, not that long after the death of his mother, and remember, he lost someone very precious to him as well, who had only been married for just over a year. And actually, it wasn't quite a year when his mother died on June 2nd. The following June 9th, they had their first wedding anniversary, but it was just a handful of days later that they found out they were going to have children. And sure enough, less than a year after my wife died, as a matter of fact, she died on June the 2nd of 2019, on January 27th of 2020, my first granddaughter was born, and they named her Donna Melrose Morrow. So if you do the math and everything, this coming January of 2027, Donald will turn 7. This coming June 9th, Donald and his wife Claudine will have their 8th wedding anniversary. And of course, I have another granddaughter named Elizabeth Marie. We call her Isa. And Isa, who was born in 2022, this coming August 15th, will celebrate her 4th birthday. See, life goes on. But does the pain disappear? No, the pain is still there. You want relief from it, but you don't want to lose the connection. So the idea of moving on is not really the right approach. You've got to find a way to live forward and carry it with you. And healing is not separating yourself from the emotions that you rightly have the right to feel. So let me give you some insights on that, and please just bear with me. Moving on is the wrong picture. I repeat, saying moving on is the wrong picture. That phrase suggests that we're leaving something behind, but love doesn't work that way. Meaningful relationships permanently change us. You don't get over them. And frankly, I don't think you want to. Not if it's meaningful. They're precious. There are so many incredible emotions attached to them that bring a thrill to your life. I have a speech I'm working on right now about breathtaking moments. And I still, among what I have categorized as a number of breathtaking moments, but my top 3, the number 1 most breathtaking moment of my life, this is the truth. The number 1 most breathtaking moment in my life was in October of 1972 in my senior year of college in Nashville, Tennessee, hearing a voice call out to me of somebody that I had met previously, but just saw them as an acquaintance. I heard a voice say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I turned to my left and I looked, and for the first time, this acquaintance, her name was Donna Marie Cole, a student there at the college I was going to, was walking out of the women's dormitory. I lived on a campus where there were men's dorms and ladies' dorms. And I looked at her and I saw her in a way I'd never seen her before. And that moment, it transformed me. Wow. In other words, the job was done. She hit a place, and there was no getting the picture of her in my mind out of my mind. But in the healing process, on those incredibly beautiful and wonderful, lifelong, forever relationships, healing does not erase the connection, but healing is nonetheless necessary. You can continue to love someone with your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and you can also continue to live. And I submit you can live forward. And those two things are not mutually exclusive and they do not conflict with each other. They're actually meant to pair with each other. And they give incredible context to why life can be so meaningful. Here's a third insight. Our grief will evolve, but our grief will never disappear. And I have had this conversation with other people who are going through the grieving process, those who have lost their spouses or lost a parent or lost a sibling or lost a child, as well as those who lost a job they loved dearly or went through a divorce where they were fully dedicated to the relationship, where they went through a bankruptcy, all kinds of things. It doesn't disappear. The pain changes shape over time, but the pain doesn't go away. It's still there. The pain becomes less consuming, but the love remains. Again, the love remains. Some people try to get rid of every memory that they can in their home of that loved one or that thing that they loved. I choose not to. As a matter of fact, I very much desire to have those memories. Those memories are precious. Now, do I keep everything? No. When I downsized, I got rid of a lot of stuff that we had accumulated that really had no intrinsic value. But I can tell you that there's a bookcase here in this office that I'm talking to you from, which I use as my studio for recording this podcast and doing these videos. I can tell you that there's a bookcase in here, and it's chock full of memories, memories of us, our life together, and everything about that life together that made it such an incredible experience. So you honor love by living well and not staying broken. And the love remains. And there are things that are precious to you that you hang on to, not because you're hoping she'll come back, because frankly, she's gone. But her memories aren't. And the impact she had upon me is not. So I honor that memory by living it well. Now, here's an interesting thing. In honoring that by living well, I don't stay broken to the extent that you can't put something together and make a better version of me. And I do believe there is a better version of me. I do not believe the people we deeply love would want us to emotionally freeze ourselves forever and stay locked in. The trauma that this emotion, this heartbreak causes. Let me say that again. I do not believe that the people that we loved so deeply would want us to be emotionally stuck, frozen, and trapped in a cycle of perpetual sorrow
and loss. Yes, heartbreak is heartbreak. But if moving on isn't the goal, then what is the goal? And here are the applications that I want to talk to you about that I've prepared. I've got 4 specific steps. Okay, number 1, replace the word moving on with moving forward. Living forward has nothing to do with being static. Living forward has everything to do with understanding that, number 1, you're still here. Therefore, if you're still here, you're here for a reason. And if you're here for a reason, get about the business of finding out what that reason is. Moving forward means we move forward carrying the love, but we are also on a journey of discovery and hopefully a journey of making an impact positively in the lives of people, particularly in my case, for people who are going through the grieving process. And that grieving process, again, can be any one of a number of things. Yes, my particular situation is death, but I've had other grief moments as well. This one just happens to be the one that I think was the milestone in my life that gave me a new meaningful purpose. So allow yourself to experience joy without feeling guilt. That's the second step I want to tell you about. Smiling again is not a betrayal. As a matter of fact, I smile every day. Laughing again is not an expression of disrespect to the loved one that you lost. And it doesn't in any way, form, shape, or fashion replace the sorrow that you will always feel. And again, I laugh every day. And then living again and living forward is not forgetting. Living again and living forward are in effect carrying legacy. She left a legacy in my life. Remember, we were married almost 46 years. We were in love for over 46 years. And at that time in my life where I was just getting ready to turn 69, 46 years represented a full 2/3 of my entire life lived. That is an impact. I tell you that who I am today, as you see me, is largely the result of the life that she lived in me, the example that she set for me, and the incredible patience that she expressed towards me when I was sometimes just impossible to live with, it seemed. So pain teaches, but that pain can lead to you finding a purpose in life. But that legacy gives that purpose even more meaning. So step number 4, finally, is keep the influence of that individual alive in your life as you live it out day by day, because it's sometimes the best way in the world to honor them. The best way in the world to become stronger, because they were a part of your life. And even though they're not physically present anymore, the life that they lived in front of you and with you and in devotion to you is the life that you now live to the people that have been brought to you in your life to have meaning for. And you never know who's going to need to hear and see and experience you and realize that you bring something to the table that they need more than anything. And that is a reason to live forward. No, you don't have to make a choice in this particular situation between remembering and living. You don't have to make a choice at all. You can remember and live at the same time. And frankly, for me, if you're asking me what I think you need to remember. Remembering is what reminds us of what we were once and what we are now, and why, because we are now who we are, we have a reason to be here. And we're not for everybody. It's like I've said at the beginning of this podcast, This podcast is absolutely not for everybody. There are people that have no interest whatsoever in what I have to say, and that doesn't bother me at all. There's the thing about podcasts. Speakers in podcasts have a specific audience. My good friend Mark Guy, who is an incredible speaker and a great communicator and also is a podcaster, Mark said we have a tribe. And our tribe is simply those people who, when they hear our message, they connect with us because there's something in our message that resonates with them. The interesting thing, too, is that if I were able to actually talk with them in person, with you in person, we'd have a lot in common. Our situations would be very different, but the commonality of our situation is that we are on that journey. Some of us are early in that journey and trying to find our way forward, and it's hard. It's sometimes only one step that you can actually see to take, and you can't see the other steps because there's that fog that I talked about in a previous episode that tends to permeate our thought process after we are trapped in this grief. But this grief is not really a trap. As time goes on and as we understand and we realize we are here and we are viable and we are capable and we are meaningful and we have something that we can do that makes a difference in the lives and can impact others, we still have the capacity to love, to share, to give, to serve, and to impact. Then the question that you have to do is that remembering and living are really one and the same, and you can do both. I repeat, remembering and living forward are not exclusive. They can be combined. They can both be equally important in your life. And I truly don't think that my living would be as important and meaningful for people if I did not have the memories of the experiences that I have gone through that were worth the price I'm paying in sorrow, to have lived them, to have learned from them, to have been reshaped and made better by them, and then in turn give them to you. Each of us is unique. My situation is my situation, but what I do here is there are some things I've experienced and learned through the life of my wife lived in me and now being lived through me as I carry her legacy forward. Those things I give to you because I feel they can help you. But at the end of the day, it's still a choice that you have to make. As I said before in my TED talk that I gave back in February of this year at the Lake Alfred TEDx, my speech title was Living Forward is a Choice, and it is a choice. So I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to come down to an important line here that I want to share with all of you. The goal here is not to move on from that which you loved and now must mourn. The goal is to move forward and carry the legacy of that which you loved and understand that because you truly loved, you will always mourn. But you don't have to let the mourning, the grief, the sorrow, the brokenness define who you are and how you live in a world that I believe needs you. I'm going to leave you with a question today, and I want you to give this some thought. Have you been resisting the healing process? And have you been resisting the healing process because part of you fears it means you might be letting go? What if I told you that moving forward actually honors the legacy of the one that you loved and carrying it with you makes you far more valuable in a world that is looking for expressions of love and an outpouring of compassion? It's a mean world we live in. But the only reason why we think it's a mean world is because we live with technology right at our fingertips. I have that technology here, for example. See, if you turn on that technology and you just simply follow social media or you stream a news app, did it ever occur to you that most of the time the attention getting stuff they put out there is all of the negativity? If you turn on a TV set, you find lots of videos where there is rancor, acrimony, downright hatred being practiced. But if you go back repeatedly again and again and again, can I just simply say this? Do you notice that it's pretty much the same people in the same groups? And they represent a very small percentage of the vast scope of what is humanity on this planet. Most of us just want to be able to live a life that provides for what we need and for what we need for the people that we love. Most of us want to live a life where we can do something meaningful and productive that will help us to have some degree of comfort, shelter, resources, essential things to keep us alive, food, rest, relationships, friends, family. Do you know the vast majority of the people on this planet are living life exactly the way you and I are? And a vast percentage of them have also experienced incredible grief and sorrow and tragedy. But those who have found that through the process of loving, through the process of having surrendered themselves fully to something or someone they love, even though they may have lost it tragically, and it has broken them deeply, they want to strive to continue forward. That word, that power word that my wife and I adopted in late 2017 continues to resonate with me. The structure of the 7 letters that make up the word resolve, RESOLVE, those behaviors that I live out daily have helped me to live forward successfully, and also to live forward while carrying the memory of the most incredible human being that I have ever been touched by. There is no one that was more important. And that's not to diminish the fact that I have a son, a daughter-in-law, and 2 incredible granddaughters. I have a sister, 2 of the most incredible nieces you could ever meet. No, what I'm saying is that loving, caring, and then being broken and shattered doesn't bring us to an end, and we don't move past it and go into living a different life. We take the life that we have lived and the influences that have changed us, and we live it forward, and we carry all that good with us, and we share it with a world that is desperately hungry for someone who cares. You can be that person. Thanks for joining me today. Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast. I'm John Morrow. I look forward to seeing you at this time again next week. Please like, respond, download, share, talk to people about it. But for now, I hope that this day and the days that follow are the best days that you have ever lived. And never, ever forget, always resolve to live forward day after day after day. Bye-bye for now.